Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Appreciate you all being here for their what's this, our fourth play date. And so this month we are focusing on accessibility and using AI to help with creating accessible content. And since that's a huge thing right now for the district. And so I'm joined by my brother, if you didn't know. He's my brother, older brother. He's our accessibility guru, specialist, extraordinaire for Rio Salado, and also our director of instructional media and accessibility, if I got that correctly. And so he's our expert for this whole thing in terms of accessibility. So basically, give you a quick little rundown of what we're going to be doing is we're going to talk a little bit about image descriptions, language accessibility, and creating your own accessibility expert. So let's go ahead and dive in. So this is a hands-on activities. So if you don't have a preferred AI tool that you're using, we recommend opening up Copilot. I could drop a link in the chat real quick. Chat. So I just dropped a link, and so that is the link for you'd have to log in with your Maricopa, your MEID at maricopa.edu account and your district password, and you should be able to get access to Copilot. And this is within the educational umbrella agreements that we have with Microsoft. And then also, let me drop in. Is this the right one? Yep. I just dropped in a link that the second link is a worksheet that has a lot of the information within this workshop. It has some of the example prompts that we'll be going through. And so you could reference that. Like if you don't have your own stuff to kind of work through the activities with, you could use the example content that's in that worksheet. So I recommend having both of those open as we go through these things. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, come off mute or whatever. But so I want to have like a little icebreaker just to kind of get a little bit of the juices flowing, get people communicating. So if you could wave a magic wand and make one part of content creation more accessible overnight, what would it be? You could drop it in the chat or just come off mute. Tables for the STEM courses, like in like a lesson, like showing data. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's all their like data tables or, the math tables.
Okay, yeah.
Graphs, all that information they need students to interpret.
Gotcha. Good graphs and images. Easier contrast options, yeah. PDFs, oh, awesome.
Contrast is always a big one for me. I always have to, I don't know why there's a trend right now to have low contrast text and backgrounds. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, just because like Word and I think even Google, like they're like the defaults, especially like when you get the themes inside of Word, a lot of them like they just do like the same color, just like different tones. Is that the right luminosity or the? And so it blurs it really a lot, and so it's harder to read with their default themes. So that's totally relate to that. Awesome. Okay, so captions, that's also a good one. So, Murray, do you want to cover this, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can do this. So the W3C, which is the group that has put together the standards for HTML, CSS, and most applicable in this case is the WCAG guidelines for accessibility. They have tried to create a simple little, easy to remember what's a mnemonic? Is that what it's called? Where you to make it easier to remember what type of things do I need to remember to pay attention to when I'm thinking about accessibility. And the first one is perceivable. So you want to make sure or think through how to make your content so that no matter how you perceive the world, that you're able to perceive this content, right? So if it's a visual only medium, then you're going to have a lot of people that aren't able to, that can't see, they're not going to be able to get that same content. So that's the first one. And before I get too far down this road, one thing I want to kind of clarify or make clear is that, there's lots of different ways to think about accessibility. And but the way I want everybody to kind of start framing it in your mind is that a disability is a situation where a person and their abilities and how they are is incompatible with the environment that they're in, right? So uh, an easy example for this is if you're a person that wears glasses, right? If you take off your glasses, the world kind of changes for you, and it's harder for you to do certain things, and you may have to adjust what you do in order to uh, read something or something like that. And in some cases, you may not even be able to drive because you can't see well enough. Uh, and the same goes for any other kinds of things that we've traditionally called a disability. You have the way a person is. Maybe they were born without limbs, and so if the only option they have to type into a computer is using a keyboard, that might be difficult for them. So they need a different type of technology, and usually they're referred to as assistive technology. But keep that in mind that many of the things that we kind of know and as part of our normal lives was built based on certain criteria of how somebody uses that technology, but someone else might need something different. So keep that in mind. It has more to do with how the environment is designed. Okay, so we talked about P for perceivable. The next one is O for operable. And so if what you are providing someone is interactive, then they need to be able to interact with that, in the same way or navigate through it. U is for understandable. The person needs to be able to understand what you need them to do. So that could be anything from how it's designed for the interface or understandable from possibly a language perspective. And the last one is robust. And this generally means that it will, whatever it is that's being provided, can work across different technologies. And that could be assistive technologies. It could be devices. And so POUR, perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Okay. All right. Next slide.
Okay, so something that we always cover in these workshops is to kind of talk about the good, the concerning, and the stuff that you should be very mindful of and concerned about, and realize that you're responsible for those things, like the good, the bad, and ugly type of stuff. And so the good, um, basically, it allows us to explore different ways of creating content for different users, that in the past would have taken a lot of time and a lot of expertise in order to build a new type of media element or a new type of interactive uh, activity type of thing. And so AI allows us to try to build all these different tools that students may need and in order to learn and be able to participate within their classes or within wherever they may be participating in, whether it's student groups or whatever. And so a lot of that stuff like the alt text generation, transcripts, captions, um, as Marie mentioned before, simplifying text, um, and then changing the reading level if that's necessary for some people. That way they could, if they need to start at a lower level, then work their way up to more proficiency to increase their reading level. Then that could be possible more easily with AI. And so the concerning aspects, it's just about AI, just like humans, can make mistakes. And so we can't necessarily just trust it as is. And just like humans, we have our own biases and things like that, and it's been trained on human content and information, and so it inherits those things from us. And so it could be introducing those things, introduce errors, perpetuate biases and stuff. And like one thing I'll just point out is about the oversimplification. So like if you're trying to change something into plain language or trying to simplify a complex thing, it could remove some of the important context that's around it. So that could be one of the issues and that you have to be mindful of and look out for. And then the responsible part is, you are responsible for anything that the AI creates. The We can not use an excuse like, the AI created that, so it's, I don't have responsibility for that. But basically, it's you're putting your name on that materials, whatever it's being output. And so just be mindful of that. And so, make sure that you always review the content. And don't skip that part of it. And another thing is we still need like the experts, the AI specialists and the AI accessibility specialist and the experts, like Murray. And so AI doesn't replace them in having those skills and the knowledge about what makes things accessible. And so also, just because AI makes things easier doesn't absolve us from needing to still learn why those are the accessibility principles and why certain things are done for certain types of disabilities. And also don't assume universal design, because that's a big thing that we talk about, especially with accessibility, is universal design. And so just because the AI spits it out doesn't mean it will actually work for people. And so you just have to be mindful and be responsible for those things.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about this is that the uh, accessibility is a spectrum. It's never an end achievement. And so, although when you're in the compliance side, often people are like, hey, is it accessible? And but the more you get into it, the more you understand that accessibility is a personal thing. And where like for myself, I need higher contrast thing. Usually my text needs to be bigger. Uh, and but for someone else, it may be that they need lower contrast because of their vision, right? And so it's important to understand that you could do your best to do best practices and everything else, but just realize that there could be people out there that still need adjustments or support in being able to, I guess, consume your content. Okay, so let's get on to the fun stuff. The first activity, and this tends to be a common one, and some people kind of are challenged by how to think about images, and often you'll find that people will over describe when they first get into it and try to describe every little thing that's on the picture, but just remember that it's also additional content that if you are using a tool like a screen reader, and so if you write 14 paragraphs about how everything that's in that picture, that person has to go through all of that to see if they're try to glean out of that what's important. And so usually alt text is really short, and it's just something that kind of explains. And if you need to provide additional detail, it's always better to do that outside of the image in the rest of the content, because there's people that they can see, but they have limited vision, and so they might be zooming in on the web page 200. I've talked to people that go up to 700%, and so letters are 2 inches high. And so if you're trying to comprehend what's in a picture but not have the written part of it in the content, then it makes it a harder barrier for them to deal with. So okay, so let me put in chat a link. So if you have an image that you want to experiment with, by all means, please use that. If you need an image, then I'll put a little link here to one we grabbed, and this is an infographic. So there's a lot of text and pictures and things that have implied meaning on it that that would need to be interpreted for someone. So this will be a challenge probably for any AI tool, but let me, if I can get over to it, I'll share my screen here if I can figure it out. Share. Okay. All right, so hopefully you can see this. I just have the Microsoft Copilot chat up, which everybody hopefully will have access to, but feel free to use whatever you like. In fact, most browsers are starting to come with AI built in. Like in Chrome, you might see a little button at the top that says Gemini, and you could click on that and it will pop open a little chat for you to use if you like. So let me grab that image and I will attach that. Okay, so now that I've attached it, the next part is to, and all this is over in the worksheet if you want to follow along, copy and paste. But I'm just going to use the example alt text prompt, and I'll paste that in here. Now there's a few places you'll notice that there's square brackets in the prompt. Usually those are areas that you need to change to give more context to what you want the AI to do. So the first part of this is where is this being used? So I'm going to say that this is used on an accessibility website. And what's the audience? Audience is college staff. Helps if I spell it correctly. And you'll notice in the prompt, it's asking for a short alt text that's under 125 characters and a longer description that I could consider putting into the content text around it. And then if it's decorative, to suggest marking it so. Gordon, will you post the worksheet URL again in chat? I saw that pop up. Okay, image description. I don't want to provide a description. I want to see how well it does on its own. So I'll erase that part. Okay, so I've attached the image and I've given it some prompt instructions, and let's see what it does. So it says, here you go. So for alt text, it says infographic explaining digital accessibility, its benefits, assistive technologies, and steps organizations can take to improve compliance. So if I were to pull that up here, all right. So for those of you that can see, here's the actual infographic. It talks about like how many millions of Americans have disabilities, bunch of stats, little explanations about what digital accessibility is, and that it's a growing market for those that are kind of like, you know, what's the money value in it, right? And all these different benefits you get out of accessibility. So now the long description, you can see it is pretty long, and it explains how it's titled. Begins by noting that 57 million Americans have disability and highlighting groups like veterans, Californians, seniors, and students. Now, what's interesting is that it's important to understand that AI is going to do its best, right? But it's not perfect. And so it's important to understand that if we look at the graphic, let me bring that back over. So what it's referring to is at the top, it talks about there's 57 million Americans. They got that right. And then it has text that says that's more than the populations of California and New York combined. So that's the information that it provided there. Now, if we look at what it came up with, it does get the stat right, but then when it says it's highlighting such as veterans, Californians, why would an infographic highlight Californians as being disabled? I don't know. But seniors and students. And so it's always important that you look at what it provides and then either work with the AI to modify it and improve it, or grab this as a initial draft and then go in there and clean it up, fix it, because it doesn't really, the infographic doesn't have anything about groups, including Californians. So, all right. Anybody have any interesting results that you got when you tried this? Did you use a different graphic and anything that surprised you? You can feel free to put it in chat or you can speak out loud too.
But we can also just give you like a few minutes to try it out on your own as well.
Oh, yes.
So it's okay. We'll just have a little bit of quiet time so you can kind of work on it yourself and see what outputs.
While you're doing that, I'll pull up Chat GPT to see how it might be different. So I tried it in ChatGPT, and it really is interesting how it will pick up different details. Like for the alt text, it actually said that this is a DQ infographic, which is the company that made the infographic. It has digital accessibility stats, assistive tech examples, and business reasons to pursue WCAG compliance. And then it has, for a longer description, it actually goes and breaks it down into bullet points with different information.
I find it interesting that even though Copilot's using ChatGPT on the back end, they still came out pretty different.
Yep. And that's an important thing to understand as well, is that you will get different results across different tools. And sometimes it is, especially if you're working on something complex, I will sometimes use it to, I'll use one tool and I may try it in another tool as well. But I will also use multiple tools to double check what the other did and try to strengthen it that way. So it's almost like you build your own little collaboration team. So, all right. Anybody else have anything that they want to share?
Anybody try it?
Well, I tried it and I just used an image for my course. I'm adjunct faculty for Spanish, so there's a cultural lesson or objective, and I just put in a place in Spain that is part of the cultural reading. And I mean, I thought it was pretty awesome. I already have, I have it in my instructor notes and I've already written details to make it accessible, but this is just so much more cool. I mean, the short one is, similar to what I had written, but the long description, if someone is visually impaired, gives you like every single detail out of the picture. So we including like the colors of the sunset and all of the ceramics. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
There's also times when instead of asking for AI to write alt text for me, sometimes I will prompt it to look at the image and tell me what I should make sure I include and try to get details, because the computer will see it different than I will sometimes. And so sometimes that could be a good technique. Anybody else want to share? Oh, it's Michelle's first time using AI. Hey, welcome to the craziness that is AI.
Oh, interesting.
So Monica says that hers tries to explain sections or region, but combine the wrong columns together. Yeah, especially on really complex things like that. Sometimes it's too much for the AI to really put together cohesively. So Shannon, you said that proof that purple hair and red lipstick are a personality trait, not a phase. I presume that you did not use the same image as the infographic.
I did not.
Or yeah, here's a good tip that Riley's done. Sometimes also like having AI convert flyers or graphics like this into HTML for accessibility. Yeah, and AI is getting better at doing that.
And just as a kind of exercise you could do as well, because the way I also like to try to improve my skills in terms of this is I'll take like the description that I either write or that AI generates, and I throw it into another AI chat or a different platform and have it generate an image based upon the description and to see what it produces, because it helps to kind of simulate how a blind person may interpret that description, because the AI is essentially blind. It doesn't have vision or anything like that. It's trying to create an image out of text. And so that's so it's kind of a way to kind of see the back and forth, uh, what may be lost as you translate in between those two things. So that could be a way to help improve your own skills. And I go, oh, this is, I should be describing this as well, because that was missed out, that type of thing. So it's also another avenue for double checking what you're doing.
Excellent. All right, let's go on to the next activity. So in this next activity, we're going to try to, and this is something I kind of use quite often, maybe not necessarily to always simplify it, but to clarify my explanations, because I know that, you know, I'm not the best communicator, and so that I can communicate what I'm trying to get across in a way that makes the most sense for whoever's trying to read it. I do a lot for emails. But so what we're going to try to do is see what happens when we try to simplify some complex text. So if you have your own text that you want to experiment with, then feel free to use that. But I put in some example text, some from biology and some from programming. And yeah, as soon as I read it, I'm like, whoa, this is too much for my little brain. So if I copy that text. All right, so in my Copilot, I'm going to first give it a prompt. And I want to rewrite it so that it is, let's say 10th grade reading level. Okay, and then I will paste the content. I use the biology stuff. So let's see what happens. So it kind of rephrased things, and looking really quickly. So it changed it from, you know, something like the renal regulation of the body's acid-base balance addresses the metabolic component of the buffering system. Yeah, that sounds like a keyword generator, or something you might use as a filler text in your designs. But so it kind of converted that to the kidneys help control the body's acid-base balance, which is the chemical system that keeps our blood from becoming too acidic or too basic. So it kind of manipulated things around to try to change it, but you know, as educators or even as communicators, if you're staff and you're trying to make something clear to somebody else through email, you'll always want to review it, and more than often than not, you'll have to tweak it so that it actually sounds like your voice and what you're trying to convey, and make sure it didn't remove anything important. So, but often it will get you to a good start, and you're like, oh yeah, that is a better way to say it. So take a few minutes and try your own experiments, and let's see what happens. I'll do the same over in ChatGPT just for funsies. Interesting. So in some ways, it's similar. But it did say a little different. And, it's also important to understand that, the original content, which I just copied right out of a textbook, part of its objective is also to use proper biological terms so that you kind of reinforce, hopefully, what the student has already learned, that, when you say renal system, you're talking about the kidney system. So. Yeah, right, for kindergartners. Oh dear.
I'd be interested to see what it did.
It says you really woke up and chose kidney acid-based buffering for children. And then it says, sometimes your body loses too much biocarbonate, and what that means is you have bad diarrhea. Sorry, not sorry.
I'll go to third grade so that it, hopefully by third grade they're reading a little bit. Your body needs to keep a good balance between acids and bases. Two body parts help us with this, your lungs and your kidneys. Ooh, I like this version. I can understand what they're talking about.
That's awesome. That's always a good skill to have, being able to explain things at different levels. That's kind of like what do they always say? Like you understand something when you can explain it and teach it to someone else. I think that's a saying, something like that.
Oh, Shannon has a hand up or waving or something.
So what you're referring to, Gordon, I watched a YouTube video and I liked how Morgan Freeman was answering questions. So I grabbed the transcript and I put it in ChatGPT and I said, okay, now I want to answer these questions like Morgan Freeman. And it does it. And it's
Nice.
hilarious. So, but you have to, what I learned from one of the AI classes that I did called funnel hacking, you have to give it the transcript, not the video, so it can teach it and then it will do it for you. It's not always perfect, nothing's perfect,
Right.
but it was hilarious.
Interesting.
Anybody else have anything they want to share or things that they discovered? Okay. And if you do end up wanting to share something, you can always put it in chat. All right, so the next one is something that actually might be really helpful for if you do a lot of producing things for students or other people. And it's a little bit more complex and more interactive. And you can kind of customize your own prompt, but the prompt that is put in the worksheet will try to get several clarifying questions to try to understand all the information about it if you don't provide it. And so we're going to give that a shot. And hopefully this is a tool that you can use over and over. And sometimes it's always helpful to have if you don't have someone readily available that you can ask or bounce ideas off of, AI is great for that because it'll never judge you or make assumptions about what kind of person you are if you know something or don't know something. All right. So, and at the end of this, if you use the example prompt in the worksheet, at the very end, it actually gives instructions about the first task and saying that I want to learn accessibility by doing. ask me 5 questions and give me a short practice exercise that I can complete in 10 minutes. So you can always remove that if you don't want that. So I will submit that. So the first thing it does is give me lots of information to consider. Let's see what it says. So it's asking me what kind of content do you personally create that create the most right now? Do you use Canvas, Word, Google Docs? So for number 1, I'll answer Google Docs. For 2, when you think of done, are you aiming for minimum compliance or best student experience when possible? I want a balance between minimum compliance and best experience. Number 3, how comfortable are you using tools like headings, alt text fields, link editing? I'm very comfortable. Do you currently use a keyboard to test content? Yes, I use a keyboard. Question 5, what kinds of barriers do your faculty or students run into most? Is it navigation, PDFs, image-heavy slides, videos without captions, unclear instructions? All the above. I would say PDFs are the biggest problem. All right, let's see what it says. That's interesting. So in my mind, when it asked me about what was the question it gave me? Let me go back up. What kind of barriers do your faculty and students run into the most? So in my mind, so I put down PDFs and thinking that that one's going to have the most. It's the thing that I want to use the least because it has so many problems. But it also interpreted it as it's like, oh, okay, you want to make a PDF, so let's try to fix that, which is a different approach than my brain said. So it tells me to create a Google Doc and make sure you use headings, make sure you have good links, avoid layout features that break tagging. Oh, so if you use columns or floating images, things like that, then that could be a problem. And then export using PDF. You know, one of the nice things that the district has done recently is everybody has access to a new tool called Grackle, and it's in your Google Docs. And what it does is it is specifically meant for creating more accessible PDF from a Google Doc or a Google worksheet, workbook, or a Google slideshow. And it'll kind of walk through, look for problems, help you remediate those problems, provide additional information. And but the key to remember for Grackle is that it's meant for exporting that content to a PDF. And so while it does improve the accessibility in its native state, some of the information it gathers is not stored. It's kind of stored in a way that is not part of the Google Doc. And like, for example, in Google Docs does not have a way to designate a table header, and which is really unfortunate in my mind. But when you run Google Docs, it'll say, okay, here's your table. Which column and row are your headers? And so you can mark that, but it doesn't actually change your Google Doc. It just stores that extra information so that when you export out as a PDF, it has that information to tag it correctly in your PDF. So, okay. So did anybody try something they want to share, or?
I'd be interested to know, Shannon, what your 5 questions, how are they different?
I don't know why they're so different, but mine were like, what does done look like for you right now? What content type do you often create the most? What's your biggest time constraint? And what accessibility issue makes you the most nervous? I found those not as detailed as Murray's. It
Are
could
you
be my
using?
chat GPT though.
Okay.
Mine is set up with a personality.
Okay, so but you're using ChatGPT?
Yes, should I try a
Okay.
different one?
No. I mean, that's kind of like the thing that we want to emphasize throughout this is just that it'll be different
Yes.
based upon the platform you use, but you do bring up a good point that a lot of these AIs uh, can start to learn about you and how you say things and how you work and what's your job and stuff like that. So they kind of get a memory of you as you keep working with it, and so that could influence potentially some of the output.
100%.
So, anybody have any questions? You know, accessibility questions. We got Murray here. He could answer them all.
Or your money back. Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to do is leave it open, and if there's something that you were wanting to ask, even if it doesn't directly relate to AI, then maybe we could answer it, because a lot of people have the same questions. All right, that was your chance. No more. I tease.
Okay.
I did.
Wanna...
Oh, sorry. I was going to mention that at the bottom of the worksheet you have, there's a section there for additional resources, and let me bring it over here. So let me clear this out, clean it up. So these resources, there's a few. Microsoft has some accessibility and AI related training, and there's even, they provide some content that you can import into like a Canvas course or something like that. They also have, they've teamed up with a company called Founders to create an AI training course that you might enjoy. And it has a slant on it to better understand how AI and people with disabilities kind of work together, and how they can benefit each other. And then the last thing is coming up next week is the AXCon free virtual accessibility conference. And there's like, gosh, there's almost 90 different sessions that you can watch. A lot of them have to do with AI. And in fact, one of the keynotes is from someone that is an AI expert. And And so there's going to be discussions on that, but they'll cover lots of different topics. Some of them will be highly technical and some will be, pretty straightforward and basic. So there's stuff for everybody there. And the nice thing is that if you register, you don't have to attend the live sessions because you'll be able to access the links to those sessions and watch them at your convenience. So.
And so just a couple of closing things because we're getting there towards the end. I dropped a couple links in the chat space. So if you haven't joined, we do have 2 different chat spaces for the whole district to join. One's for AI, where we just talk about AI. And then the other one's for accessibility. So if you have questions about accessibility and want to explore that with other like-minded individuals across the district, clicking those links, you'll be able to join either one of them, or you can join both of them. But feel free to join, and we welcome you and hope to see you there. But also get the word out. We have one more play date this year in the spring and April, and that will be looking at data and using AI to help you with that. And that will be with Zach Lewis, our institutional research. I think he's the associate dean, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And so
At
he'll be
Rio.
helping. Yeah, at Rio, sorry. And so he'll be helping with that. But if you want to look at any other past workshops, there are recordings on our website, which I just dropped another link in the chat. So feel free to access the and watch the other videos we had on just introduction to prompting, introduction to creating images, and then using AI as a creative thinking partner. So if you have any questions, feel free to also reach out. But
So one quick thing is Riley asked a good question about my thoughts on PDF accessibility, and said it's not possible to make a perfectly accessible PDF like it is for HTML. So essentially that is a true statement. PDF was something that was built a long time ago, and it was an answer to it was back when computers and technology didn't have good ways of sharing documents really easily that would work on all the different platforms. And so PDF came along, and if you created a PDF, it would show up and be viewable the same way across whether you're on a Macintosh or you were on a Windows PC or on a Linux PC. It would all kind of always look the same. So it was really based on visual structures. Then as time progressed on, they realized, oh, we need to make this work for other people too that can't see the visual side of it. And so they figured out ways to tack on accessibility, and they call it tagging. And so if you have some bold text before a paragraph, that might be considered a heading. So you tag that as a heading. And they kind of they used a lot of the same kinds of semantics that HTML provides, but it's definitely not perfect, and the tools that are available are not great. Even if you use Adobe Acrobat, there is an accessibility checker and tool to help remediate, but I can't tell you the number of times that you run it and it comes back and says, okay, fix the problems. But then if you really go and look at it, things are out of order. Just strange stuff happens. And that stuff is even harder to see than HTML. Whereas HTML, it's gone through several iterations, and the current version of HTML is highly accessible. And in fact, they don't even create new HTML elements without going through thinking about how this would be presented to other people. And so right now, so the semantic structure of HTML is, I would say, highly accessible, but you're also reliant on the technology that the person's using, because they all have to interpret that HTML and then provide it to the user. And in some cases, it'll interpret it a little different from another tool. So if that makes it more sense. Here at Rio, we've had a good discussion and deliberation, and made the case to the executive team to go away from using PDFs altogether. And so in some cases, we may not be able to do it because of, a PDF is needed for some compliance reason for another entity. But we try to either make, our first choice is to do it in HTML. If we can't do it, then we use another tool, and we're trying to get a balance between using Google Docs. But if you really want a better usability experience, then Microsoft Word is usually a better accessibility experience for a lot of people. So, but we're trying to strike a good balance between all the different use cases that are floating out there. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents on it.
Awesome. Any other
Thanks for the question.
questions? Thoughts?
Well, thank you for your time.
Riley, where are you at?
Scottsdale.
Oh, Scottsdale. Okay. Yeah. I mean, feel
Could
free
be
to reach out.
cool.
To
Yeah, it could be cool if there was a follow-up, and see how everybody's suggestions came out and how they helped and all that.
yeah. I mean, we'd love to see what you guys do, with the information we share. I mean, so feel free to reach out to, me, Murray, and just kind of share. We'd love to see your use cases, and share those also with other people. And because I'm also the co-chair for the AI Resource Center, and so I'm looking for use cases to share with people to help people learn how they could use AI. And I know accessibility is a big one. So yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.